I didn't see that one.
Perfect.
Good. Oh, that's perfect.
First, you take a nice practice swing. You scoot up to the ball and you shuffle your feet. Your club is up in the air. Set the club down. After you put the club on the ground, there was no additional adjusting of the feet. Take a nice practice swing again. Go up to the golf ball. While the club is in the air, you're shuffling your feet, you're getting your spacing with the club in the air. But once the club gets to the ground, there's no additional adjusting. On this swing, we were working on allowing yourself to do some additional adjusting once the club is on the ground. So you reach this comfort zone when the club is on the ground. On these next two shots, you were working on the new routine where you're allowing yourself to continue waggling and lifting the club up and down, but you certainly make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to adjust the spacing with your feet after the club has been set on the ground. So you're working on this new routine, shuffling down when the club is on the ground, letting visual and sensory feedback for comfort.
Yeah, you've hit them all solid.
But I mean,
I do think your ball position's a little too far back. The ball position's on the red arrow. I like to get closer to the blue arrow. So as you practice, start moving that ball up a little bit. That'll allow it much easier for you to move up to your left side, because you'll be moving to the ball, not past the ball. Justin, we're going to look at your driver swing from the down the line view. On the right, I have Grant Wade and you on the left. The blue circles are going to be the tracking of the club head to the top of the backswing. And then the red circles are where the head passes on the downswing. Let's take a look at Grant first. And now we'll take a look at yours. Going to look at the backswing again, and this time I've drawn the shaft position. The red line is the initial shaft position at address. The blue line will be the shaft position during the backswing when the left arm is about parallel to the ground. And the black line will be the shaft position on the downswing when the left arm is parallel to the ground. So let's look at Grant first. So right there, his left arm is about parallel to the ground and the shaft is basically pointing at the golf ball. On his downswing, he'll return the shaft just a little above that, and that's the 5 position in the golf swing. And again, he's basically going to be pulling that butt into that handle right towards the golf ball along the path of the black line. Let's look at your backswing. You take it a little bit more underneath the shaft, a little bit almost too far behind you. And there you've set it onto the blue line, which is a little bit laid off. It's a little bit underneath. It's a little bit too flat. You then kind of loop it up and then come down a lot more steep, a lot steeper. And again, when you come down, so you have a little steeper shaft, a swing plane on your downswing. So you have kind of a loopy at the top as your club goes back in your backswing. It then has to loop up and then come over the top and swing down. That will create some chaos through impact in terms of your path direction, but also it makes it difficult for the face angle to be quiet because it has to try to compensate for this over the top steep path in order to try to find a matching face angle for that path. And as that path becomes chaotic, it causes the face to be chaotic. We want to work a little bit on that swing plane. Now one more time we're going to look at it. The red arrow is the position of the right arm and the direction the right elbow is pointing when you get to the top of the backswing. The blue arrow is the line of the shoulders, and the black arrow is the line of the left arm, and this is all at the top of the backswing. Let's look at Grant first. So when Grant gets to the top of the backswing, the red arrow is showing that the right elbow is pointing down to his hip. His left arm and shoulder line are basically on the same line, which is optimal. Let's look at yours now. So when you get to the top of the swing, you can see how your elbow is pointing way out to behind you more. Your hands are much higher. The left arm is above the shoulder line. And so those are some issues that we wanted to work on. And let's look now after we did some drills with the armpit closed. Since we did the towel drill with a 7-iron, I believe you had, I'm comparing it to one of your earlier swings in the session with an iron instead of the driver. The blue arrow is the direction the elbow is pointing at the top of the backswing. The red line is, or the red arrow is the shaft position at when the left arm is parallel to the ground on the backswing, and the black arrow is when what the shaft position was at when the left arm was parallel on the downswing. Let's look at on the left. This was without the towel drill, without thinking about keeping the arm close to the side and the elbow close to the side. So when you get your arm about parallel to the ground, that's where the red line is. Then as you continue to the top of the swing. That's the blue arrow showing where the right elbow is pointing. Then on the downswing, you go a little bit over the top and you come a little bit steeper, and about right there is the downswing. All right, on the right is you have a towel under your armpit. So we're going to look at that as you come back. Right there, the left arm is parallel to the ground. Shaft's in a similar position, but there are some very subtle differences in all three lines. And they are not as chaotic. You are making an improvement in your swing plane. We're not all the way there yet, and there's some other things I'm going to talk about. But this is one of the drills and feeling that you need to have. Your blue arrow is a little closer to your right hip, so it's a little bit more where we want it. You're getting the right elbow kind of underneath your hand instead of out so much. Then on the downswing, on the right with your towel drill, when your left arm is parallel to the ground, you are a little bit closer to the red line, so you've gotten closer to the swing plane that we're looking for. One other thing that was observable in looking at the downswing when you were doing the drill, we had talked a little bit about, and you had mentioned that you still feel like your left arm and left elbow chicken wings a little bit on the follow through. Going to one of the things from this camera angle that can identify a chicken wing is after impact, as the club goes past the body, and the club will show up coming off of your left shoulder or right off the back. And typically what we want to see is the club before we see the left arm. And as we come through, I'm already starting to see the left elbow. The left elbow is kind of swinging behind you. At the same time, I am seeing the club head showing over your shoulder. As I continue to click it and the club continues to move, I'm seeing more and more of that left elbow. That's a clear indication that you have chicken wing. And so the swing on the left was without the towel. The swing on the left was when your elbow was much higher, not trapped and not connected to your right side. Let's look at that same type of club action as we come through. Okay, I'm now seeing the club, but no elbow. I'm going to frame advance it. I still don't see the elbow, still don't see the elbow, still don't see the elbow. So there's much less of this chicken winging going on when you keep your right arm connected to your right side, because it sends a signal to your body that you have to, the only way that you can deliver the club to the golf ball when your right arm is connected to your right side is to try to turn the right side more. And there is some subtle differences in that. And we look at your hip turn, I can definitely see more of your left back pocket here than I can on the left. So you've definitely turned your hips more. Your belt buckle is certainly turning to the target more, which means you're able to keep your hands in front of your chest more, which takes away the need of the left arm to fold. So one of the benefits of keeping your right arm connected, keeping the armpit closed, is that it forces you to swing your core through the ball and not just throw your hands through the ball. Now this core swing of rotating to the target and getting onto the left side is still something that we need to work on. If we look at Grant here, you can see how he's pulling not just with the hands and arms, but you can see that right knee, that right thigh. You can see his hips turn. He's throwing that left knee out to the target as he drives through. And then when he hits the ball, I can see both back pockets. He has a lot more hip turn. If we look at you coming down, you definitely have more hip turn than you used to have, but we need to keep working on making it more. About right before you get to impact, you've kind of gone dead with your hips, and you're basically now just the hands and arms because that's all you've done. And so you're having to relearn this move. And so your initial downswing has a kind of a kick of the hips as you kind of let the hips and the arms and the hands kind of work together right there. But about halfway down, the lower body kind of just quits, and now you just kind of throw it through. So when you go through the ball, you don't have near as much hip turn. I'll take you back to impact. So you're basically still sideways to the target into the camera, whereas Grant has turned a little bit more. So it'll be something that we work on. It's certainly getting better here, much better. Now the only other thing that I think is worth noting is how to use your legs not only in the downswing but in the backswing. Notice that when Grant starts out, both knees are flexed, but as he takes it back, the left leg flexes and the right leg extends. And so getting that, and that allows him to have a really good hip turn right there. And then he just reverses that on the downswing. He'll start extending the left leg and letting the right leg flex. So the knees are kind of scissoring right there. And when he's in that position, club is basically facing the target. He's almost fully turned his hips and his shoulders to the target. And when you're in a similar position, you really haven't turned to the target much with your hips. So those will be some things that we'll work on.